How's it going, Adventure Time fans? I'm NewAdventure Time here, guys, to do the episode review for Food Chain. So many of you guys were probably confused with this episode, and I was confused too. Food Chain is actually non-canon. If you don't know what that is, it's an episode of Adventure Time that has to do nothing with the show. It is created, well, it was art directed by another person, not from the same people. It was directed by another person. I forgot the name of that person, but that person was a different director, and that's why everything was different. When we saw the sneak peek for this episode, Finn had another arm, and then we thought it was non-canon just because he had another arm. But after Breezy, he had his arm back, and now after Breezy is Food Chain. And then the art for the Food Chain was really weird. But Food Chain I think is still non-canon, which has to do nothing with Adventure Time. But this episode was very strange, but it did seem like an Adventure Time episode to me. So I don't know if it was 100% sure if it was non-canon or not. You can tell me the link in the comments below. But this episode still had a story to be learned. This episode was, of course, mainly about the food chain, where Finn and Jake just were invited by Princess Bubblegum in the Natural Museum of History and learn about the food chain. Now, one of the main people that we see is, of course, Magic Man. And Magic Man, as we always see, likes to play games with people and likes to teach them a lesson. Like we saw him the last time when Finn turned into a giant foot and he learned a lesson where don't give your food to mean jerks, like Magic Man. Now here was another lesson just like from Magic Man from the last episode. This lesson was to teach Finn and Jake about the food chain, because when Finn was walking away, he said, "Who cares about the food chain? Why do I need to learn about this?" That's why Magic Man kept following them all the time and then wanted to teach them a lesson. And then, of course, we saw Finn and Jake turn into birds. When I saw the sneak peek for this, I thought, what is Adventure Time going to? I mean, this is getting kind of weird, but, Magic Man has powers. He can do whatever he wants. And every time he kept teaching Finn and Jake a lesson, like when he turned them into birds. Finn thought he would never eat worms, even if he was a bird. And then when we saw him apart, he said, "How did I get so fat? I just ate one worm." And then Jake told him, "Dude, you've been eating worms for hours." I mean, we don't like stuff unless we're a different person, like a bird, for instance. And you know how Princess Bubblegum kept telling us about the food chain and how the cycle was going again, and they weren't believing it. When the part where the little bird eats the big bird, or when Finn was a little bird and he was eating the worm. Now, in order for the big bird to survive, he has to eat the little bird, which is full from other food. And when we saw Magic Man do that finger change or change, something like that, he changed, and then he changed Finn into the big bird. And then we just kept seeing the cycle going and going. Then we saw, Big Finn, or, Big Finn turn into a big bird and then trying to eat Jake. I mean, it's the cycle, guys. That's how the cycle actually works. And then we saw Finn trying to eat Jake because he was a little bird, and that's how the cycle goes. So this episode has more of a lesson, not quite a lesson to be learned, but more of like how a cycle goes, mainly the food chain, and was to teach Finn about the food chain. This is mostly in my opinion and what I think the episode mainly was about. So then, after we saw the food chain where Big Finn tries to eat little Jake, we saw how Big Finn was unsuccessful to eat Jake, and since after that the Finn was starving, he died. I mean, Adventure Time tried to cover it up to make it look not like sad, but like Big Bird Finn died, and then we saw all these tiny little Finns. All those little Finns were bacterias, and all those bacterias go up and eat the Big Bird that died, which is decomposed. They eat Big Finn and decomposed it. I mean, to those little bacterias, as we saw those little bacterias, and then we saw dead Big Finn, I know how we saw hamburgers and all that kind of good stuff that we like. That's how it is to them. That's how they like it. We saw all those little Finns eat the big bird, and then how its rest, all that's left is just the bones and ash. That actually happens in real life. And then we see the bacteria, flying around, which was kind of a funny thing, but my funny thing was when they got married in the little caterpillar. And then we saw Finn and Jake turn into a flower, which was another part of the food chain. This episode had many songs. It had the part where Finn and Jake were flying around, and when there were flowers, and then where Finn was singing the caterpillar song. I mean, lots of songs. I'm gonna be posting them on my channel, so make sure you guys check that out. But then they were turning into flowers. And then, the flowers, we were looking at Finn, and we saw a shadow of the little bird eating the caterpillar. I mean, that's just the cycle. The cycle just keeps going, and Finn and Jake are playing a different perspective. There were a bird, then a worm, and then all that kind of stuff. So after they were a flower, they turned into worms. I mean, Magic Man kept changing them. So then, of course, we saw Finn and Jake as worms, and then we saw the little worm, the little cute little worm that Finn was in love with. So that was kind of funny. I'm guessing the actor for that little worm, I don't know her name, but that was the same actor who played as Eileen in regular show. You guys can really tell that. And then, we saw just a little fun for worms. They were eating the leaves for flowers. They ate the flowers. So before they were worms, they were flowers. Now they were worms, and they ate the flower. That's how the cycle goes. It goes for stuff like that to feed their people, like the little worm girl said. So then, of course, they ate the flower, and then for like a joke, they got married, that was like one of the nicest things I've ever seen of Adventure Time. Like a little love thing for Finn, even though like it didn't really happen. I mean, but it was still kind of nice. Then after that, we saw the cycle continues, how it goes again, since they're worms, who eats them? The little bird. The little bird ate them, and then, we saw Finn, Finn and the little worm girl just talking and saying that I'll meet you again, or whatever, and then Magic Man changed them again, and then we see Finn again eating worms, back to his normal self. And then Finn thinking that he learned a lesson, that's why we saw Finn with like a film on top of his head, and then he was thinking about the food chain. Now he said, whoa, I learned something about the food chain, how important this is. And he tried to teach everybody else about the food chain by singing a song. I'm guessing I'm gonna name this song Finn's Food Chain Song. And then, we see Finn dancing, and then at the end, he teaches us about the food chain, about how the cycle goes, and telling him how important it actually is, even though the other kids didn't really care about the food chain and all. But then, we just see Finn dancing, and then the kids saying, we don't care about the food chain. I mean, they're just kids. They don't really care about the food chain, except for Finn. But Finn really did learn a lesson. I mean, this was a really good episode. I liked it because, I mean, what is the food chain? It's something that keeps going in order to survive, and that makes us, us. So I hope you guys understand this episode. Hopefully I understand it for you more. That is about it. I'm going to be posting, of course, the songs for this episode, which are really good. You should see at the end of the outro. Make sure you subscribe. I post the best for Adventure Time. I'm NewAdventure Time, guys, and I'm out. Peace.